What goes around comes around is the phrase of this message. Maybe the phrase of this era, the motto, if you will. Maybe it always was, and maybe it always will be. But from the looks of my pre-shuffle, it's as if someone must have sent around hella losses, because now in real time or soon to come, they're losing everything. I mean everything. Their status, their position, their security, their mind, their family, their friends, their livelihood, their material assets, their reputation, their hair. Like, I mean, from as major to as minor as you can consider a grave loss to be, is what someone is experiencing in real time. And I could go on. I really could go on. Like, it got to be so bad that I had to just stop shuffling. Like, okay, that's enough. I just don't want to see anymore, because it was just relentless loss after loss after loss after loss. And that's exactly what someone is experiencing in real time, not just figuratively or fantastically, but it's happening. And so therefore, on account of the Six of Pentacles is the energy that came out so many times I lost count, even fell out of the deck multiple times, that really overarched the message today of what goes around comes around. And then what was to follow, again, was just more loss than I could even manage. So that's what leads me to believe that if that is the message, then you must deduct that if that's what someone is experiencing, then it must be at some point, it must have been at some point what they were dishing out. And so all is fair in universal law. All right. So let's see what we got today. What's up, everybody? It's me, Danae. I'm here with a message for you. It is, let's see, June. Can you believe we're in June? Tuesday, June 9th. And it's 2:59 p.m. Yes, we are finally in June, just a couple of weeks away from the solstice, and it's already warming up where I am, so I can imagine at least that much is true for the places where it should be warm now. And soon enough, we'll be complaining about how hot it is. I'm so sure. But anyway, I hope you're doing well, and I hope that this week has been good for you so far. So I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible. My son's called BS, not literally, but kind of. As I said, I'm going to try to keep it short. So I told him I gave him certain instructions. By the time I'm done, I'm like, I'm going to be fast, so this is what you need to have done. And he's like, yeah, you always say that. So I'm going to actually try to keep it fast today. Like, can we do 30 minutes or less? Let's see. Some readers are just so amazing at that. Like, and it'd be a healthy, meaty, straight to the point, straightforward message in less than 30 minutes. Some shoot in less than 15. Yeah, though, Chiron Intuition is one of my favorite readers. And I don't think any of his readings are more than like 20 minutes. If that's probably a long one for him. And it's always action-packed. But he also does 4 messages a day. So ultimately it kind of adds up to about an hour and some change, at least. To each his own, but it would be nice, because I know for the algorithm's sake, people are much more likely to click on a 15-20 minute hit it and quit it than they are 45, 50 to an hour plus. I know, because I'm one of those. Yes, this is where I landed when I finished pre-shuffling. Like I said, like, just crisis. Somebody's in crisis mode. And anybody that's in that tower with them is also going to experience those effects. Oh, come on. Not the devil. What? Hold on. Let me keep going. What's the devil here in the Judgment? Damn. Injustice was also, it's like whatever is happening, it's like I said, it's all is fair, you know, when it comes to restoring balance and karmic justice and order. It's like whatever you put out there is what's coming back. And someone just allowed themselves to be way too they dwell too much in their lower frequencies, heavy in their lower frequencies, and it was so imbalanced to the point where it's like the universe has no choice but to step in and realign order, establish, I should say, order. Maybe even really to save for this person's own sake, you know, like to kind of save them from themselves before they destroy themselves ultimately. But it's like the tower moments that are being incurred are the agent of change, like to really clear the faulty foundations that someone has established their life upon, so that something more secure can be reestablished. That's really what it comes down to, but it's when you have to see it that way to react and respond productively. Otherwise, you could just pretty much like cause yourself more harm and damage depending on how you respond to it. 3:03 on the clock right now. If you try to you know, you could make matters worse, or you could see an opportunity to improve your situation, even like, you know, through the rubble of the losses that you've taken. Like, how do you rebuild, or what do you clear away, as a matter of fact, so that you can lay a new foundation? That's the whole point of it all. What's that? Yeah, I saw this a lot too, the Four of Swords, and that pretty much was like someone really has no control over, they kind of just have to surrender to the changes. There's nothing, like, as much as they would want to do, and maybe in past seasons and eras of their life, they've been able to kind of strong arm a resistance, and, you know, salvage the mess, so to speak. That's not what this is. It's like they kind of got to lay down and take it, wait until all the dust settles, and then pick up the pieces where they can. And it's given, like with the Four of Swords, like some level of exhaustion, because like I said, it's like incessant loss, disturbance, maybe bad luck, because I definitely did see the Wheel of Fortune. Just, you know, misfortune after misfortune that someone is having to manage, and it's becoming unbearable, which is probably why I also saw somebody kind of losing their mind, like losing touch with reality, to maybe having a bit of a mental breakdown, because there's so many uncontrollables about what they're going through that it feels unbearable. We got the Queen of Cups here. Okay, what's up with the Queen of Cups? And the King of Wands. Okay. There's a whole nother situation over here. What's up with this? Fresh energy. What's with the Queen of Cups and King of Wands? Let me see though. Let me get one on them. Oh, wow. Wow. So where things are falling apart in somebody's life, in some lives, things are coming together in others. Like, it's just that Six of Pentacles dynamic. Like I said, what goes around comes around. You could be up one day and somebody could be at a disadvantage. And really that card is about like recognizing that you could be on either side of that depiction. You could be someone in need or at again at a disadvantage, disenfranchised, inferior to some degree, in lack, or in scarcity. Or you could be someone at an advantage that has resource at disposal and has power and influence and is in the position to make a difference or infuse change or enhance a situation. Doesn't mean that you have to, but it definitely means that, well, I'll say this, it doesn't mean that you have to make anybody's life better because you're in a position to do so, but you certainly don't take opportunities to exploit other situations or to abuse your power, position, or influence just because you can, especially if it means to make matters worse for somebody else. So there lies the disparity in your choices when you are up. Like how do you manage that privilege, that fortune, that favor? And a lot of people really failed in that department. Like, just straight up and down. A lot of people had all the resource, all the money, all the power, the influence, the position, the authority, the access, the wealth, the riches, the opportunity, everything you can think of, the privilege and favor was there. And in some cases, even those that may have had to work to achieve at a certain level or to obtain at a certain magnitude, there still was the challenge and charge to make wise investments of your own time and energy on the other side of that achievement, or as a result of that achievement. And some, here it is, just plain and clear, like, binded themselves to darker forces, whether that was actually associatively, whether it was energetically and an internal binding, even mentally, psychologically, spiritually, whatever it was. It's like you ultimately sold the best parts of yourself out or sold others out so that you could maintain a certain frequency of success or satisfaction, let's even say, because the devil card could even just be a vice that you wanted to keep indulging in. And so maybe you had to, that Four of Swords card is giving me hints of that, where you might have had to sacrifice certain aspects of yourself that you wouldn't even really want to under normal circumstances, or if you were whole and complete spiritually and energetically, mentally, even in your purest form, let's say, holistically. you wouldn't choose to do so, but to satisfy that darker void, you did so anyway. I definitely saw a lot of choice energy in the pre-shuffle as well, that it's just like this is the outcome of poor choices made. It's nothing more, nothing less. It's not even, you can't even blame it on, you could get mystical and all that and blame it on demonic possession and witchcraft or spell work, or anybody getting associated with, influences, people, places, and things that would perpetuate that dark void. But still, what it all boils back down to is the power of choice. You had to be a yes at some point in time. You had to have made an agreement with some contract or covenant that was against your best interest in order for it to take effect, So nobody really has an excuse when it comes down to it as to how they are now kind of experiencing the fallout of such contracts and agreements and bindings, entanglements, if you will, when you signed your name on a dotted line, one way or another. You said yay, or I do, or I will, or damn, it could even be As I'm looking at this again, I'm seeing like this is literally the difference between what could be considered like I said, a pure bond here, the Hierophant, the Queen of Wands, the Queen of the Queen of Cups, the King of Wands. There's something promising here. You could see just in the energy of the cards, where the Devil, we know that's a dark contract. So it could just literally be the difference in the partner that, the way, again, the contracts that have been agreed to, even by way of relationships and associations, platonically, creatively, romantically, casually, professionally, whatever the case may be. Something ain't right here, and judgment's been called, which means that it's to me, with the Tower, something's been brought, or is being brought to a screeching halt, and is being completely gutted out and dismantled from the top down and from the inside out. And if that's a marriage, if that's a relationship, if that's a family, if that's a coven or an association, a business, or some type of professional, some type of professional order of sorts, whatever it is no more. It's either completely dysfunctional at this point, or it's completely dismantled or dismembered. Damn. Meanwhile, it's like something over here is just coming together, and that's literally the what goes around comes around energy, while something else is literally burning down to the ground. Something is being built from the foundation, at a foundational level here. A new covenant is being forged here with the Hierophant. And it looks healthy and it looks promising. There's love here, there's passion, there's creativity, there's difference here with the two different suits, water and fire. Something maybe that doesn't seem like it would typically align, but somehow it does, or that it wouldn't be cooperative, but somehow it is. It's ordained, it's anointed, it's blessed, it's an appointed union or connection or some coming together, and it could even be professional with the Hierophant here. It absolutely could be. It doesn't have to be romantic or anything of that sort. So, but it's something that is promising and definitely has great potential here. I would say powerful potential, because it's, like I said, it's something that would is like unsuspecting. Like, you wouldn't expect fire and water to be in happy matrimony. So it's like something of an anomaly here. All right, I said I was gonna try to be fast. Was that the Nine of Pentacles? It was. Okay. Self-sufficient, single, like maybe something that can really stand on its own, but it also popped in and popped out. So it just could be an ending of a season of folks having to feel like you have to fend for yourself. You know, like you kind of just have to go at it alone, do your own thing because you can't trust anybody, or you keep getting disappointed, or you know, you just don't find that alignment that is suitable for you to carry out whatever vision or ideal of life you have in mind. Maybe that's a season that's coming to an end for a lot of folks, a season of singlehood. With the Three of Cups here, oh my goodness, something to celebrate. That's what I said yesterday. And that was the main card that influenced that message about a cause for celebration, was the Three of Cups. It was coming out a lot. All right. And you know, sometimes they say like that's the bridesmaid's card. So somebody's getting married. Or again, this is just like a season of divine unions coming together, like covenants being established that might not have been on the radar practically, you know, or conventionally, where it's like, oh, okay, we saw that coming, or yeah, that makes sense, or whatever. It's like something unique. I don't even know how to express that, but I feel like something, like unions that are like, oh, okay, like, wow, damn, didn't know that was in the works, or I didn't even know he knew her or she knew him, or who knew that they would find each other, or there would be an interest, you know, stuff like that. Or even maybe mergers of businesses that do different things, but when they come together, you know, there's an expansion effect there. Could be something like that too. That, yeah, like mergers, forging like almost conglomerates in a sense that overshadow some of the less prosperous structures that have been existing for years, but haven't really been contributing to the to creation in a holistically productive way, if that makes sense. And I talked a little bit about that too, about how we were going to see some really major businesses take a fall that nobody was expecting to see. So it could be something like that too, where it's making way, like clearing the way for more sound business structures that have an intention to create ethically, you know, and to contribute ethically to bring order and balance to through corporation, but to creation through corporation, bring fresh opportunities for expansion and evolution to take place, not just corporately, but also consciously, you know, something like that here too. Interesting. Okay. All right, what we celebrating over here? Let's close this out. See, I'm going to do it. Probably not, but it won't be an hour. I promise you that. It's already 25. Okay, creativity on a supreme level. Manifestation. Yeah, I feel like whatever is being, like I was saying, like whatever is coming out of these new covenants, whether again on any level, whatever we're talking about here is the cause for celebration. It's literally creating new possibilities. What is this? I guess it's just advancing creation. And it's what it is opening up pathways for creators to express themselves in the ways that they are designed and aligned to do so. And it's inspiring new creativity. If I know that sounds really primitive, but consider like the old way of like gatekeeping and oligarchs holding all the wealth and dispersing it, in breadcrumbs, which is even an effect of the Six of Pentacles. Like nothing, it's not really a shared wealth experience when we're talking about capitalism and the corporation aspect of society as we know it to be. It's like the total opposite of that, where it's literally like jailbreaking those gates so that others can have an opportunity to experience that same joy of creativity and flex their their muscles, not their muscles, but yeah, I guess kind of like their creative muscles in a way that is not that isn't so resistant in unjustifiable ways, or so resisted by unjustifiable means. And I know that sounds primitive, but it really isn't, compared to what we live in currently, where that level of liberty is still quite utopian of a concept when you consider what we're actually up against and how much you have to fight to create that liberty yourself, where it's kind of more, it's still a taboo that is evolving to be more conventional, but still not there yet. So it's something about like completely like breaking those gates open so that it becomes a new normal, a way of life where we're eradicating ourselves from that scarce mentality of feeling like you have to be one in a million to experience a life that is full of joy and creativity in the way that you feel designed to express it, and not just clocking into a job or slaving for survival's sake, or going along to get along, or feeling contempt or feeling condemned for the way that you want to live your life or how you want to explore creativity in your life, and so on and so forth. And then all the ways that have been resisted being lifted, in a sense, now knowing full well that that resistance was artificial all along, like being able to readjust to that new normal, where you realize like, oh, what we thought was normal and just the way of life was actually superimposed and unjustifiably imposed. And now that energy is dismembered, disorganized, and completely disabled, it opens up a way of life and an opportunity for new experiences to the point where it'll be like, damn, we could have been doing this. You mean to tell me we could have been living like this all along? You know, like if it wasn't for this over here, everybody could have had the privilege of this experience here, even them, if they would have, yeah, something like that. And of course, it may not happen overnight, but the initiation of that effect then disseminating as a result is happening, because those that have judgment is being called on those that have been gatekeeping and that have not been contributing to this ideal that I'm talking about. And the first rollout, if you will, of it all is for those energies to experience loss in a way that does disable them from perpetuating this scarcity and this, this outdated frequency of life, that's really not doing anybody any good. So again, that could be through their relationships, through their businesses and corporations, through their positions of power, their influences, their accesses, their associations, their covens and covenants and contracts, like whatever can be burned to the ground is literally in the line of fire as we speak. Nothing is going to survive those ashes if it's not in alignment with this new order of liberty that the universe wants to rebalance. Where you really, like, it really does. Because right now you can say, well, it's all on you. And it's like, yeah, it is. Everybody has their free will and, their own level of determination to manage or to attain. But there was so much ungodly resistance, literally ungodly resistance, that it really was and is a matter of the survival of the fittest, because it's been built for, for folks to just not be able to make it. But when the playing field is even and it's leveled out, then it really comes down to your own personal will with no excuse anymore. It's like, then it can really be said, well, the choice is yours, the power is in your hands, and so on and so forth. Literally, you got the power. Like I said yesterday, you got the juice. Well, for many of us that have the juice, and sometimes it was tainted, sometimes it was poison, maybe quite actually. So it's like, and then you may have survived and you may have lived to carry on another day, but the fact still remains that there was a disadvantage at the origin or the onset of your story. And that leads me to something else, but I don't have time to get into that because I'm definitely going to be an hour. So let me get one more on this Magician and Three of Cups. Celebrating a new way of creativity, or a new era of creative, a new era of creative sovereignty. That's what that is. Five of Wands. Contrary to a life of competition, where you can look forward to your ships coming in according to what you, again, like I said, sent out. What goes around comes around. Because see, like I was saying, it's like many have been very much so working in a positive frequency, sending out good energy, operating on the at the initiation of good intentions, making pure agreements and or being intentional to make upright contracts and agreements, to maintain their own personal integrity in everything that they do. And like I said, still those cups have been tainted. Those intentions have been jilted by forces and sources that were in many ways uncontrollable. So you could do all the preliminary work and have all the best intentions ahead of you or in front of you or whatever makes sense, and still be standing at the dock of the bay waiting for a ship to come in that was never going to come because some energy over here rerouted it to their port with no permission or jurisdiction really to do so. So it's like that's been the energy where it almost feels like no matter what you do or how much you do, it always seems like something else is going to have the leg up on you or the jump on what you are working on, or they'll be able to somehow sweep it from peel it from your fingertips, or swipe it from right under your nose, or whatever the case may be. Like, it just wasn't fair. It wasn't fair. It hasn't been balanced. It hasn't been just for a very long time. And in this era, it's a celebration of knowing that there is no unlawful interference that is going to take precedence over your pure intentions and efforts anymore. Like the faith and the works that you invest can undoubtedly be expected to create some type of return, effect, or even reward for your efforts. And that's just, again, the fair exchange that, if not for the unlawful interruptions, would have been, the universal order, was the universal order intended. That is the universal law. Okay. So it's just a reestablishment of universal law by way of creative sovereignty, or as an expression of creative sovereignty. I don't even know which one comes first. I guess the law, perhaps, the order. And when you eliminate the usurpers and the criminals, the bandits, then you can have somewhat of a utopian experience. Maybe not, entirely, but certainly closer to it than what you have now, when you got bandits and criminals and repeat offenders just wreaking havoc, because the more that they get away with, the more that they impose. We're talking about eliminating that frequency altogether, so that all that is left is the purity of love and compassion and passion itself in its purest form, unperverted. And, being given the liberty and freedom to express that identity, that creative identity of self, and actually expect a return that is uninhibited and without interruption or interference. That's going to breed a whole different, I don't know, like spirit of life or something. Because right now, like I said, you can do and be so determined and devoted, and there's still always this lingering thought in the back of your mind, like, okay, well, I'm gonna do all that I can in my power, but you almost anticipate for there to be some interference or some shoe to drop or some interruption or reroute or detour or imposition to your plans. But and in some ways, the divine may still, that may be a justifiable interception or interruption. And I'm talking about the unlawful ones, and what happens when you I mean, I experience it now where, just as simple, and this is real primitive, but this is on a small scale, imagine even larger, where my maintenance light on my car was on. Now, I'm not particularly, I wasn't particularly like nervous or scared about it, but it's just like, oh man, all right, I wonder what that is. Because right now, I really don't want to be spending no money on car repair and that, like things start going in your mind, only to go to take my car to the spot for them to check out that it was just that the last time I got an oil change, they didn't reset the light. And the only thing that I need that isn't even urgent on my car is to have my filters changed, which would just improve the air quality in the car when I'm running the air. $40 job, you know what I mean? Like stuff like, well, two of them, so like $80, $100 job. So it wasn't even anything serious, but it's like that's like the undercurrent or the background program of us all to be worried that, you know, it's just been too cool, too peachy keen to just be rolling and running with no issues. Like I get my oil changes on schedule without fail and all that. And if I hear something, I'm paying attention to it. But even got my brakes checked, don't even need those yet. Certain things, it's like that undercurrent of like, oh, I know it's gonna be something. It's gotta be something that it can't just be easy sailing. But what if it actually is though? What if that is the intended life to live? And like I said, that's minor of just like everyday stuff, but I'm talking about from that to the largest of things, like you wanted to launch your business or to start a new channel or whatever, whatever the thing may be. And it always being, start a clothing line, write a book, release music, like whatever it is. And it's always like, oh, as soon as I start getting ready to gear up to do my thing, it's always got to be something. But it's coming to a point where it's about to be nothing at all to worry about, because everything that caused that positioned itself to be an adversary and in opposition has its own things to manage at this point. They got their own house to clean up, so they can't even really spare the time or the energy to come trying to, wipe their dirty shoes on your white couch. Which is a good thing, not just for them, but for you and for everyone that can benefit from just creation being liberated to exist freely and organically, literally, sovereignly. Yeah. Oh my goodness. And the Lovers. What's that? With the Empress. I actually thought it was the Sun maybe, but the Empress, the Lovers. What? What's under here? The Four of Pentacles. Well, that's kind of, yeah. But anyway, it is actually about the stability of it all. Like a new grounding, maybe even a new foundation of, here it is, optimal identity. A new like this being the new convention, the new tradition, the new way of life is for optimal identity to be the normal. And we know that automatically forges attraction between other like frequencies, and that marriage, that matrimony, that what do you call it, like not pollination, but conception in any way, shape, or form is ultimately going to breed more of the same, until once again it becomes the new normal. It becomes the populated reality, the majority, if nothing else. And this lower energy and frequency becomes a minority until ultimately it's extinct altogether. That would be my utopia. or it exists somewhere outside of this, because it can't cooperatively exist within it, you know? So either way is fine by me. You ain't got to die, but you got to get the hell up out of here. Oh man. Well, anyway, I don't know. I'm gonna leave it there, but damn, 45. Anyway, I tried. It's not an hour though. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, as always, I leave you with peace.